Have you ever just stared at a blank editor, thinking, okay, I know Hello World, but how do I get from here to an app that people actually want to use? It can feel like you're lost in the woods without a map. Well, today we're handing you that map. This is your project-based guide to learning Flutter, designed to take you all the way from beginner to master.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the Flutter promise, like why are we even doing this? Then we'll get your essential toolkit ready. After that, it's all hands-on, starting with beginner projects, leveling up to intermediate, and finally, hitting the boss level with advanced projects to really lock in those skills.
Okay, first things first, the Flutter promise. Before you write a single line of code, you gotta know why you're investing your time. I mean, what makes Flutter so special? Why start this journey at all?
Check this out. This isn't just some marketing slogan. This is a real success story. And it gets right to the heart of Flutter's power. You build your app once, from one single codebase, and it runs beautifully on Android, iOS, and even the web. Think about that. That means less time, less money, and you're still competing with the big players. That's the promise.
All right, let's talk about gear. For any great adventure, you need the right tools. And for our Flutter journey, that means getting a solid grip on a few core ideas before we start building anything.
The absolute most important concept, the one thing you have to understand, is the widget. Honestly, the best way to think of them is like Legos. Each little piece, whether it's a button, some text, or even just empty space, is a widget. And you just snap them together to build your entire user interface.
And when I say everything, I mean literally everything. This isn't an exaggeration, it's the core philosophy. The whole app screen, that's a widget. The layout that holds your buttons, a widget. The buttons themselves, widgets. It's widgets all the way down.
Now your widgets come in two main flavors. You've got your stateless widget. Think of this like a printed sign. It's static, it doesn't change. Then you have the stateful widget. This is more like a digital scoreboard at a game. When a user does something or new data comes in, it can update itself. Understanding this difference is the key to making your apps interactive, and not just, well, a picture.
Okay, theory time is over. Let's move on to our beginner projects. We've got our toolkit, we understand widgets, now it's time to actually build something and get our hands dirty.
First up is the classic calculator app. And yeah, I know, it might sound a little boring, but trust me, there's a reason this is a rite of passage for developers. It's the perfect playground to practice your UI and state management skills without getting bogged down by a ton of complexity.
See, you're not just building a calculator, you're mastering the fundamentals. You'll learn how to arrange buttons in neat rows and columns, how to make the app actually do something when a button is tapped, and, most importantly, how to manage that state. Remembering what number is on the screen and updating it. These are the skills you'll use in every single app you ever build.
All right, once you're comfortable managing a single piece of state like a number, the next quest is to manage a whole list of things. And for that, there's no better project than the tried and true to-do list app. This is where things start to get really interesting.
A to-do list is where you learn about CRUD. It's a funny-sounding acronym, but it's the foundation of almost every app out there. It stands for Create, Retrieve, Update, and Delete. Think about Instagram. You create a post, retrieve your feed, update your profile, and delete a comment. It's all CRUD. This project teaches you that core loop. And just like that, we're ready to level up. Welcome to Intermediate Projects. So far, our apps have kind of lived in their own little bubble. Now, we're going to break them out and connect them to the massive world of data on the internet.
A perfect project to start with here is either a weather app or a news app. Why? Because these apps are totally useless without live, real-time data from somewhere else on the web. The big skill you'll pick up here is working with APIs. An API is basically how your app asks for information from another service. It's like a waiter at a restaurant. Your app places an order, the API goes to the kitchen, the server, and brings back the data. You'll learn how to ask for that data, how to understand the response, and how to display it beautifully.
Okay, so fetching public data is cool, but what if you need to manage your own data, like user accounts for a social app? Normally, that means building a whole separate backend server, which is a huge job. But what if there was a shortcut? Well, there is. Meet Firebase. Think of it as your backend in a box, powered by Google.
Firebase is like a developer's secret weapon. Need user logins? Boom! Firebase authentication has you covered. Need a database that updates in real time across all your users' devices? Say hello to Cloud Firestore. You can even tap into powerful machine learning tools. It's an absolute game changer.
So now that you have this Firebase superpower, what can you build?
Well, how about something way more ambitious, like a real-time chat app, or maybe the user interface for an e-commerce store?
A chat app is the perfect way to flex those new Firebase muscles. You'll use Firebase Auth to handle logins and signups, and then Cloud Firestore to pass messages back and forth instantly. This is that moment when your app stops feeling like a simulation and starts to feel truly alive and connected.
And that brings us to the final stage of our journey, the advanced projects. This is the boss level. These are the projects that pull together everything we've learned so far and really push the limits, proving you've gone from apprentice to master.
Just look at the complexity here. A ride-sharing app clone? That's not just one app, it's at least two. One for the rider, one for the driver, all talking to each other with live GPS. Or what about a personal finance app with secure logins and AI that gives you spending insights? Or an app that uses your phone's camera to identify objects in real time? I mean, come on. These are professional-grade applications that really showcase a deep command of Flutter.
So there you have it. We've mapped out the entire journey, from understanding the core promise of Flutter, to grabbing your toolkit and climbing the ladder of projects, all the way from a simple calculator to complex AI-powered apps. The path is clear, the tools are in your hands. So really, there's only one question left to ask. What will you build first?